The stress and the strain of our modern daily lives takes a toll on all of us in different ways. There's never been a time in the world where, as humankind, we have been expected to do and be busy for so many hours during the day. There has never been a time where we've been under so much strain to perform so many duties and to hold so many responsibilities next to each other on a day-to-day basis. And there's never been a time where we've been apparently under so much pressure from the external world and culturally to live and to be in a certain way. As a result of all of those pressures, we may find that actually we are carrying more and more tension and more strain on a day-to-day basis. I certainly feel it in my day-to-day life with the various responsibilities that I've accumulated. And as a result of that, I'm always feeling fortunate and grateful to the practice of yoga, to the perspective of yoga that helps and offers us a perspective and practices to help us find balance in what we might call a really unbalanced or imbalanced world. It's not just the things that we're going through in our lives that can cause stress and strain. It's also the news that we are exposed to of war, of climate change, of poverty, of violence, and so forth. All of this extracts a toll on us psychologically and physiologically, and we could say spiritually as well. One of the great things that I've found through deepening my practice over the last few years is it's that at these moments when we feel particularly stressed and strained, and those are often the moments when we feel most busy, that we need some short practices that we can weave in to our daily lives. So, as I've often said to many of you before, there was a time in my life where I used to do a 3-hour yoga practice. I literally can't believe it when I say it now. A 3-hour yoga practice every morning from 5 a.m. till 8 a.m. and a 1-hour practice at lunchtime and a 1-hour practice in the evening. Now, whilst that was great at that moment of time, there is absolutely no way on earth that I could sustain that level of practice now. Not only do I not have the physical capacity to do that because of the other responsibilities that I've taken on in my life, but I simply don't have the time to actually dedicate to do those kind of practices. So does that mean that my practice has stepped backwards? Or is there a way of actually taking practice forwards and weaving it into the circumstances of the lives that we find ourselves in, while still being able to retain and maintain a connection to the essence of those practices? And what I've found actually is that now I've shortened my morning practice, but where I really find the value of yoga is in what we might call micro practices that accompany me throughout the day. And for those of you that have worked one-to-one with me, and also in a workshop setting, you'll know that I'm always talking about the fact that we want to bring some of these practices that we learn on the mat into what I call our real lives. Not to say that being on the mat isn't real, but what I mean is all the other hours in the day when we're not on the mat, but we need the support of yoga. So what does this mean? It means that, for example, the long, slow breathing that we might do at the start of a practice, or that we might do actually the whole way through our asana practice and perhaps at the end of a practice, doesn't just have to be a type of breathing that we do on the mat. When we know that we're feeling a build-up of strain and stress, and we happen to be on the tube, or we happen to be in an Uber, or we happen to be sitting somewhere waiting for a meeting or waiting for a call or whatever it might be, there is an opportunity in those moments to put down our phones, to stop the scroll, and to close our eyes, or if we're in a place where we can't, to just keep our eyes open but connect to our breath, and maybe just take 6 to 8 or even 12 if you have time, long, slow breaths. To notice what it feels like to slow down the breath, to notice what it feels like to connect to the breath, and for those moments just to absorb in the feeling of the breath moving in and out of the body. A second thing that we can do, for example, is if we find ourselves walking to a destination, moving through town, or walking to get the tube, or walking to get a bus, or even walking to get in the car, we can just see if we can walk a little bit more mindfully. We can slow down for a moment and just let go of that overriding sense of rushing, which seems to accompany so much of our lived experiences these days, and just take a minute or two to walk a bit slower and to notice how that feels in the body. Another thing we can do, for example, if we have a mantra practice, if we have a practice of chanting a mantra in our morning practice, or if we have a meditation practice where we use a mantra or a sound, we can bring that mantra with us off the mat again into our daily lives. So again, when we're walking somewhere, when we're waiting for the next Zoom meeting to start, when we're waiting for someone to meet us, we can just take a moment to drop inside and just begin mentally repeating the mantra, and to try to tune into the feeling that we normally get in our morning or evening mat practice when we say that mantra, and see if we can allow that feeling to arise in the present moment. Now, the thing is that these things sound so simple. I've not offered a practice that is complicated in any way, shape, or form. But the challenge is that once we get moving into the day, the energy and the momentum of our minds that pulls us into the hamster wheel of life means that it becomes increasingly difficult to create space or moments of pauses during the day to step off the treadmill, to step off the hamster wheel, and actually to say, no, actually now in this moment of time, I'm taking a moment, I'm focusing on my breath, I'm going to move a bit slower, I'm going to mentally repeat a mantra, I'm going to take a moment to stare at the tree on the other side of the road from where I'm sitting, and just take a moment to non-judgmentally observe it. Doing those things becomes so hard because the mental pattern is to always be thinking about the next thing, to always be engaged in the to-do list, to always be engaged in this mindset of having to squeeze what we call in the modern world productivity out of each and every moment. And if we're not able to detach from that mindset, and if we're not able to detach from that pattern, then we find ourselves constantly being on the go, chronically stressed, unable to slow down, unable to stop. So whilst these practices may seem quite simple at a certain level, the bigger challenge when we're getting started is actually, how do I find a way of pressing pause on my day for 2 minutes at a time throughout the day, maybe 5 or 6 times in total, to just connect into these practices? And that can be the biggest challenge because it's so hard to pull ourselves away from that sticky pattern. One of the things that you can do is to set an alarm on your phone, maybe at 5 different moments through the day, as a reminder that this is a moment to breathe, this is a moment to slow down, this is a moment to place your hands on the body and feel, this is a moment to close the eyes. Whatever it may be, to schedule those things. Another option is to set an intention at the beginning of the day to say that in between each activity of the day, whether it be between meetings, or whether it be between an activity and then eating, or whether it be in between conversations on the phone, whatever those moments are in the day, to say that 5 times during the day, you're going to set an intention to do one of those short practices, breath or noticing or slowing down. And like anything, the more that we start to integrate these practices into our daily lives, the more they become the pattern, they become the dominant expression, and they begin to override and replace the patterns, the pre-existing patterns that were already there, that continue to bind us into a pattern of being over busy, and therefore as a result of that, chronically strained and stressed. So the thing that's often missed about yoga, because we tend to want to always frame it in a very positive way, in a very soft and gentle way, which it is in many ways, but we must remember that yoga is a discipline. And it's a discipline of becoming more peaceful, but we need the discipline in order to be able to overcome the inertia of all of the existing patterns in the mind and the body. So one thing we can all reflect on is, if we want to bring about a state of mind and a state of being that's more able to handle the stresses and strains of our modern lives and our circumstances in our lives? Are we capable of committing to the gentle discipline of bringing these short micro practices into our daily existence? So just have a think now, take a moment to reflect on the day that you might have ahead of you or the day that you're going into tomorrow, and just see if you can reflect on where are the moments, where can be the pause points in the day where you can bring these practices in. And just see if tomorrow, or dependent upon when you're watching this and the day ahead, you can schedule in your mind or on your phone 5 moments in your day where you can take a minute or two just to do some of the things that I've mentioned. If you try this and get this going for a week, I'm very, very certain that you will notice a difference. It's not going to solve all of our problems for sure, but it's going to give you enough of an experience of doing these practices and noticing the difference that they make, that it may create some deeper motivation to continue with them and to go deeper. As always, please drop your comments in the section below. If you'd enjoyed the video, please like the video. And if you're generally engaging and enjoying the content on this channel, please do subscribe. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you.